Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual resiliency project. My name is Sarah Shulman. I'm the director of the resiliency project that runs out of the Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, Mass. And the resiliency project is dedicated to supporting the concept that our bodies have an innate wisdom and a healing capacity of their own. And we're taking this opportunity as COVID has hit to introduce our community to specialists in various fields, focusing on how best to care for ourselves. These specialists are introducing modalities and techniques that we can use to help support our own body's innate wisdom. And this particular series that you're finding yourself on right now is a series that focuses on explaining what some of these holistic practices are. As so many of you know, I have studied shamanism, and so frequently I'm asked to explain what shamanism is and what got me interested in it. And so I can think of no better person than my teacher who introduced me to shamanism to tell his story and explain briefly how shamanism may help facilitate healing in your life. And so welcome, Ray Crist. Some of you may recognize him as a yoga instructor from Kripalu, but I know that his life has taken a full twist during this COVID, and I know that you're out in Costa Rica right now, and so I welcome you so much, and I thank you for participating in the Resiliency Project, and thank you for, I think your story is so compelling, and I would love you to share it with us. So thanks again for being with us, and I hand you the mic.
Oh, first of all, thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for having me over. It's an honor and a pleasure to share time with you again and to share with your audience a little bit more what shamanism is. I heard you said maybe I'll start from my story, and I'll say that in asking people, or people ask me, what is shamanism? And I go back to 20 years ago when I did not have a clue. Sometimes when I ask people, they say, well, my only source to finding out is like what I hear on TV or what I've seen in a movie, or what are you going to Google? It is not something there that we all readily know what it is. And I have the impression, that's probably a pretty well-informed impression, that there are just a lot of opinions and a lot of ideas, rather, I should say, of what shamans are and do. I'll briefly go through my story because, and I say briefly because it was some years of research and strife, I should say. But I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in 2003, and I had this really grim image given to me that it most likely looked like a series of several surgeries or a very short time to live, like in the amount of like 3 months. So that, of course, rattled me. That stopped all my life. I had to make a decision. My decision at that moment was that I would not start to do a series of surgeries, but that what I really needed to do is travel in the world and find healers, shamans, or indigenous healers around the world. Something that was in my heart since my teen years, from books I had read about shamans, about healers, about energy work, etc. And it felt like it was something that I put in the back and then just proceeded to have a normal Western life. I became a photographer and she kind of left that dream behind. But at that moment, it really surfaced. And what surfaced with the diagnosis and with being confronted with that I may have 90 days to live, a lot of things come up. It is well known that there's big awakenings when we confront death. So one of the first things that came to me that really hit me was the sadness that I had not pursued my dream as a young man in my early 20s, that sensation that I could be a healer, that healers and shamanism are somewhere in the world, and it's just an awesome way of being and of healing. So I'll fast forward and say I am cancer-free today, 17 years later. I did do one surgery 2 years later in 2005 at the National Institute of Health and gave up my right kidney. I strongly believe that when we're confronted with dis-ease or at whatever level, that we should always take all the help that we can, and that can be Western medicine, hospital, surgery, medication, or it can be all the Eastern and other kinds of healings, from shamanism to doing a lot of yoga, drinking a lot of water, eating organic, or just taking care of oneself. So I want to say that as a disclaimer, both that I did do one surgery, and that I do believe in all medicines, that we should have our minds open and not be strict. I do meet people that say, I will never do Western medicine. And I meet people that say, I will never do alternative medicine. And I look at both, and I don't know why one should only choose a side. There is no sides, really. There are no sides. So with that said, I know that my surgery played a big role, and I'm grateful to the National Institute of Health and Western medicine. But I also know that if I did not end up around in 2006 starting to work with the Peruvian shamans, I know that if I had not done this work, if I was not trained, if I did not become a shaman healer myself, I know that one surgery would have not been enough. In other words, if I had done one surgery and returned back to who I was and returned back to what I was doing, it is clear where that was leading me originally. There is no reason for it not to lead me there again. Mm-hmm. So I feel that's one of the biggest realizations. And of course, I'll share a lot more about what shamanism is, but the realization is that a lot of times we say, or I still now have clients that come and say, well, can I change one thing and then be healed? And the answer to that is no. The answer to that is that in order to change, when we're in dis-ease, that means that our body or our psyche or our mind is telling us something, that something is not right. And usually what the message is that it was for me, it's like, Ray, you're not living the life that you were meant to. So we're going to stop you right here, because you need to come back in and do what you're supposed to be doing on earth, what you're supposed to be doing with your life. And that for me was clear, that my dharma, my mission in life, is to heal, is to offer help, to empower people, to help them through difficulties. So I'm grateful both to Western medicine and shamanism, because they are both what allowed me to live. And without one or the other, I know I wouldn't have been here today. So deeply grateful. When I went out I love the question, obviously, of what is shamanism, because when I ventured out I traveled through Mexico originally, and then eventually found myself in Peru. I've met a lot of shamans, brujos, curanderos, different names through Mexico, but where it really hit home and met family, people that are family today, 15, 14 plus years later, was in Peru. And when I was venturing there, I was thinking that a shaman is a man or a woman of some kind of extraordinary power out of this world. And I'll just say this right off the beginning, that was not true. That was not true. My understanding of what a shaman is, being one now, and having met many, and elders of these tribes in the Andes, specifically the Quero Nation people, through the Sacred Valley, which are essentially the Inca shamans, or these are the ancestors of the Incas that are still alive today. I feel that there are men and women of extraordinary love, compassion, and affection, care, and sincerity. When I originally met them, I said, this is what's happening. I'm dying. Please heal me. And the sensation was still that I am a weak person and that they are the almighty powerful ones. And everyone that I met, and those are four shamans that became my teachers and still are beloved teachers to me. And like I said, we've become family. I've seen their children grow. They've watched my son grow. When I said, please heal me, they all said, no, that's not the way it works. We could train you how to be a shaman, and then you could heal yourself. And that's where a lot of that is in being a shaman. Being a shaman means that there's a shift of consciousness of who I am in the world, what I as an individual, every one of us, right? What do we represent in the world? And a big part of what's socially accepted and what we consider our norm, or what I at least considered our norm as a Western person, is that there are some specialists at something, that the health, and I am only here just living my life along. And if I stumble across anything that goes wrong, then I have to put my health, my life, my safety into someone else's hands. Mm-hmm. Now, there are specialists, a surgeon, etc., and there are times that needs to happen. Like, open with that, by all means. But in the meantime, I have those other 364 days of the year that my life is in my hands, and I can really take care of my health. I can do a lot of things that are beyond preventative. I hear the word preventative, and it makes me smile, because it's like, when we do the wrong things, we're really headed towards that direction of creating disease. So preventative means don't do things that will damage you, because it's really clear that you'll end up with one ailment or another. Now, with that said, I think just to give a little bit more of what an understanding to your audience of what a shaman is, and what are the tools that they use, and how can we use them in the modern world. So how do this bring down the veil, the cultural veil between these two, our modern world and these ancient practices, and talking about the sacred valley of Peru. I'm going to quickly say that the Queros were the Queros were the medicine men and women of the Incas. And when the conquistadors arrived, when the Spaniards arrived in the Sacred Valley, the Queros knew what was going to happen. They didn't like what they were seeing, and they took off up to the Andes, and they left from the Sacred Valley, which is average around 11,000 feet, and they went deeper into the Andes at 16 to 18,000 feet, where they established a settlement which grew from that time in 500 years. So from early 1400 to late 1900s, it grew to be 12 villages, the Quero Nation villages. And there, these people they kept this treasure. They've lived there exactly like they've always had. And, in 1400, they were still living like they were, 1000 BC, or right around the time of Christ. Them and nature. Huts built of wood and stones that they could find, and a really basic life. While doing that, though, they also preserved the medicine. They preserved the magic of the shamanic work that they've had. So this work, the Quero work, is based on the love for humanity, is first of all based on the love and respect for the feminine, and it embraces and offers an honor to Mother Earth. So I would say in many ways, the Queros are the first feminists and the first ecologists. They have been, even at times that they perhaps were not needed. Even more so now, they are the earth keepers. They are alarming us into what we need to do and take action to save the planet, to reverse what we have done, etc. But honing in and kind of like funneling, coming in rather to the more specific tools, the shamans have the gift of offering tools for all sorts of ailments. Some of them can be physiological, it could be pain in the body, it could be a disease like I was dealing with, cancer. It could be a psychological, it could be pain of a breakup or a divorce. It could be pain of losing someone's job, or confusion because someone's changed their country, their location, and they feel they can't fit in. Whatever it is that you're working with, the shamanic tools that are available are amazing. In the Jaguar Path, and the school that I've created, with the tools that I have been taught by these elders, I have chosen 20 shamanic tools that have the ability to be applied, again, exactly at that, at different things that we all face in the modern world. I would namely just give some examples of things that we may have heard of, but may not have the, not put together as like, how does that work? So one of signature, if you want, shamanic tool is a fire ceremony, which is something we don't have. We all have a campfire, and I think it's fun when we all go to campfire. It's exciting. We all love to do marshmallows when we light a fire in the backyard. That's always fun. The element of fire and lighting a fire is always exciting because it is something that within our own selves strikes millennia of evolution, of community, of gathering, of family, of safety. And that really immediately strikes into the subconscious. And a lot of these tools do exactly that. They target the subconscious. The shamans tell us that when we start thinking about something and believing it, like say my diagnosis about cancer, and then I'm only thinking about that, then I'm setting up a mechanism in my subconscious which is telling my body, I'm dying, my body's shutting down, I'm coming to an end, which, and to bring a bridge here, because I think it's really important, when I say subconscious, I mean parts of the brain that spark these ideas are not only ideas we're thinking of or thinking subconsciously, they are ideas that are sparking and triggering our endocrine system to secrete a series of hormones that are now giving the information to the nervous system, to the internal organs, essentially every cell of the body. So what I believe has a very strong impact on my health, one direction or another. Mm-hmm. One direction or another. So so fire ceremony is a beautiful tool because in fire ceremony, we have a tool where you could write down what it is that's hurting you. What do you feel is holding you back? And it's something that your audience, everyone listening to us today, you could use this. You can light a fire and say, I will do this today. So if you feel that there's something that's holding you back, write it down, light a fire, sit in front of the fire, feel into it, holding that piece of paper, feel into what it is that makes you feel. What is holding you back? And how does that make me feel? Blow that essence of what you're feeling into the piece of paper 3 times, and then put the piece of paper in the fire and watch it burn. The amount of mechanisms that are happening in what we call the subconscious mind is amazing in number. And what that means to the subconscious, that I saw that burn. That was holding me back is burnt now. And again, that software in the background now is not held back, pushed, saddened, frustrated, or whatever it was that it was creating. That like really softens the emotion from the real depth of it. And then allows me in the front side here and the conscious side to then easier make those adjustments. So if that was holding me back, what do I need to do and change? I can easier now approach that change. Another tool that we use and seems to be a favorite to many times has to do with relationships. And I feel that can be, and I see a lot in the world, that it can be definitely a source of happiness, but it is also a source of unhappiness, sadness, that is for relationships that have ended, or when you go through a divorce or a breakup. So we have this tool that is called the cord cutting. And the idea that the shamans share with us is that when I am connected, and even in the English language you could hear, when I'm connected with someone, I'm in a relationship, two people create exactly that, like a energy line that we use for exchange of information, to share our love, to share what we deeply love, to share our moments, etc. And you can see that in some couples. It's like one couple will start saying something and the other person will complete the sentence. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like the two minds are on board. They're communicating. So, and that is beautiful. So those chords are beautiful when the relationships are wonderful, when they're flourishing, when they're working. Many people, though, that have experienced the breakup of the relationship, a divorce, etc., afterwards, having divorced, after having broken up, living alone, they face a lot of sadness. And a big part of the sadness is that there's a cord, that connection that's pulling. There's a sensation of pain. And or sometimes a breakup can be accompanied with anger or sadness, frustration, whatever people are left with that the breakup itself basically created. Even the sadness of the breakup by itself, and then the echo of other emotions of what brought one to the breakup itself. So we have this wonderful tool, and when people are in this space, the best thing we can actually do is like pick up our pieces and really find our center and move on in life and make a better plan of what's the next step, etc. Having clarity from a new place. And if you were to be ready after a certain amount of time to go into a relationship, what are the things you want to rearrange? What are the things you would do different? And here's where cord coming comes in as an amazing tool that really works wonderfully and allows for a very quick shift. When we cut those cords, so we have the client say, well, I broke up with, say, Mary. So we have the client say, Mary, I set you free. And we cut the cords from all the directions around, from under, from above. There's a specific methodology we use. But in essence, the practicality of it is by using what we call a cord cutting knife, we cut this energy, the connection. And I feel, and I love this work, not only because it's healed me in many levels, but I also love watching people getting healed, because I consider it's evident to me that it's accelerated healing work. Like people heal very fast. So when we do the cord cutting, a person is now not pulled anymore. Then they stop having the thought, if it's where they were stuck, of just thinking of that person. And perhaps even more importantly, once they've found themselves without being pulled in their center, at some point moving into another relationship, they're not bringing that baggage with them. That has been severed. It's something that doesn't exist anymore. It's something that's not now being refreshed and introduced into a new relationship. So it allows for evolution. So there's a couple of tools right there.
Great. Yeah, well, so I mean, I think that for me, it was really, learning those tools has been so empowering. And I feel like these are just such simple tools, and such simple tools that can be passed, that within minutes, other people can understand. And I think it's about understanding the innate wisdom that we all hold. And so, the course was incredible to dive deep into that. And so are you teaching the course now that you're in Costa Rica, and what's going on with that?
Absolutely, yes. This work, the Jaguar Path work, the Yoga and Shamanic certification program, we've been running for over 12 years now. And of course, now we've just simply shifted it and we are online. It starts November 14th, 15th. And we meet one weekend per month. So from November to June. And every weekend that we meet, we do yoga in the mornings, and in the afternoons, I teach the shamanic tools. So there's over 12 shamanic tools that the students will learn. And all these tools, like you mentioned, are tools that are in many ways easy to get to understand, and in many wonderful ways awesome to watch how accelerated they are and how quickly they can shift the reality for someone. Mm-hmm. The magic of it, I think, is in that. As you well know, being there, and it's been an honor to have you in the training a few years back, and it was an honor to have your husband Tom in the training also later on. The magic of it, I feel, is what I teach, or I should say this, it's the mechanisms behind the magic that I like to teach. Because as Westerners, we want to know that something is founded on logic, it's founded on some science, etc. So I bring a lot of the elements of what's the neuroscience behind it, what do therapists say behind it, what are the mechanisms that take place for these changes to take place, so we understand how real it is.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that is a way I love to teach it because of my nature. I'm curious. I like to know how things work. And I'm a skeptic. When I arrived to Peru and in Mexico, I met people, and, especially when I would first meet them, I would hold my distance. I would be listening very carefully and being careful of what it is they're saying, what it is they might be wanting for exchange, etc. So as a skeptic, I encourage everyone to be a skeptic. And as a Greek, since I have Greek origin, and I want to say that the word skeptic means the thinker. So it translates different in English. Skeptic means someone that will have doubt for something. But that is a thinker. A thinker will say, well, I will not just take what you tell me without thinking about it. So I, again, encourage everyone and every single student, the hundreds that have come through our trainings through the years, to be a thinker, to be a skeptic, to be careful and analyze things with an open heart and a clear mind. And that's why it's a big part for me is to explain how these mechanisms work rather than say, well, we'll rattle and that magically happened. I wouldn't buy it. So I want to know why. And so I explain in each tool what mechanism happens on a physical level, on an emotional and hormonal level, on neural pathways, what is happening at the moment in our physiology and our psychology. And so I feel that students like you, when people leave, everyone knows these mechanisms really well and has the confidence and the ease to offer shamanic healing sessions with exactly that confidence of knowing exactly what's behind it. And one of the part also that we teach that is really important is towards the 8th session is what we call healing protocol, where we essentially teach our students minute to minute how to offer a shamanic healing session. So our graduates, you have a map, and while you're in a healing session, no matter what is happening psychologically, in the physiology of the person, etc., the graduate, the person offering the healing session, knows exactly where they're at in the map and what's going to happen next and how to bring it to a closure, and allowing the client to feel that the closure was sweet, was soft, that there is a conclusion, that there is definitely hope. And I'm going to say, I think you use the key word, that at the end of each session, the client feels empowered.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is...
Well, I mean, I was going to say, I don't know if you remember how skeptical I was as an MD coming into your class, and being a little coerced by a friend of mine to come along. And it was just, it was, what I think, I so appreciated the science and the explanation of the neuro pathways, but it's really, for me, and what I do with the Resiliency Project is I offer the experience, because it was the experience, it was all the different experiences I had throughout the training with the blue jays that had been in my life forever and ever and ever, but never understanding why they were there until, it was the awakening to the having those experiences that actually made me not a skeptic, and so I think that it's really about just diving in. So I so appreciated the experience. In a future video, I'll tell my story about my journey that I had in your, maybe some other time we'll meet and we can talk about that. But
that'd be wonderful.
But anyway, for now, I think unless you have anything else to say, that was an awesome introduction to shamanism, and we can follow it up. If people have questions, please ask them below this video, and we'd love to do another follow-up of this. Do you have anything more to add?
I will be very happy to do a follow-up if people want, if you would like to. Our website is jaguarpath.com. We now are running every Wednesday a night at 7 to 8 Eastern Standard Time, a shamanic circle. It's an ongoing 6-week series that we gather together and I share shamanism, what shamanism is, and some what we call light tools to basically inform more people. And the training itself, which is 9 months, will be starting November, and we're already registering people. And if anyone's interested, please go ahead and visit the website or send an email.
I guess the one last thing I would say, because this is also new on virtual and remote, and what I've been like so fascinated by since the start of this remote teaching is how energetics actually work remotely. And so, I was just picturing when you were talking about the cord cutting and what it was like in our class where we had our knife and, and so I've been experiencing now, like with the Reiki providers that I have on this series and orthobionomy, I just got an orthobionomy session virtually, and it's incredible, this energetic, like what happens energetically. And so maybe you could talk like this much to how that's happening in your course, that you're now virtual, but that these things actually work. And like I'm still trying to grasp that.
Absolutely. Well, I've been working throughout the years because I travel throughout the world teaching. A lot of my sessions have always been with people through other countries and the other continents, etc. So it's something I'm familiar with, and very much. And in this year's training being online, a big part of it is exactly that. So every tool you learn how to apply it both in person. Since I will be teaching with my wife, Nina, I will be showing how I would work with a client with Nina, but also immediately then that we repeat the tool and how you do it online. The heart behind it is that we're always in the same place. We're always on Earth. We're always in the same place. And at the same time, the work is happening behind the scenes, and that is in either in behind the scenes in the spirit world or behind the scenes in one's subconscious. Mm-hmm. A big subject to open, but when I'm rattling and you're here, I'm still doing the work somewhere else. So for us to be physically together or not, it doesn't really matter that much, because we are both, in any case, doing the work on another realm and another level. What's behind the scenes of what we call, everyday life or everyday consciousness. What matters and what is beautiful is to watch people have that shift, the big smile. When people walk in and they're like loaded with anger or sadness, and then they walk out and their heart is open, their face is open, their eyes are smiling.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ray. It's been fun to catch up, and thank you all, Virtual Resiliency Project. Thank you for tuning in. I would completely recommend this course to anyone who's watching. And if you have more questions, we will post again. So thanks, everyone. Great.
Thank you, Sarah.
All.